Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this Blitz chess postmortem, a postmortem of my Blitz game number 496. I had the black pieces. My opponent played e4, and I decided to go with knight f6, the Alekhine's defense, counterattacking the pawn in the center immediately. You don't see this opening at the top levels so much anymore. I guess with correct play, white can get some slight edge, and so black players have gone to other openings. But I still see this quite a lot at the club level, and it's an interesting way to play. And yeah, certainly suitable for most players. So e5, kicking the knight, and the knight goes to d5. Gives you, some interesting counterattacking possibilities. So d4, showing up the center, that's the main move, and d6, counterattacking the center. And now the main moves here are knight to f3. I think that's the modern variation, just adding more support to the center. Or c4 here, kicking the knight again. c4 can be played in two different ways. After c4, you can follow up with f4, the four pawns attack, or you can just exchange on d6 and go for a slight edge. The four pawns attack is ambitious, but maybe not entirely correct. It gives black good play. So probably the best way to play is with c4 and takes. At least that's the way I play it. Knight f3 is a respectable line as well. Okay, but instead my opponent goes with bishop to c4, harassing my knight immediately. And now the typical move here is knight to b6, and I probably should have just played that for an equal game. I went with e6. I thought this was kind of interesting. I wanted to see if he would be willing to give up his bishop pair in exchange for doubling my pawns here. The thing is, these pawns are easy to undouble because I can always take on e5 here. So he didn't go for that. He went with knight f3, which is the main move. And I go with knight c6, just developing castles, and bishop e7. So we're out of the opening book with bishop e7, but you see that's still a fine way to play. The other way would be to take immediately, but I'm going to take in a move or two anyway. Let's see, he played a3. This is maybe not the most accurate way to play. I castle, and he goes bishop a2. So he took two moves to get his bishop to this secure location, but maybe it's not the best use of his time. He didn't wait for me to harass the bishop, right? He could have waited for me to play knight to a5 to kick the bishop before retreating it, and then my knight would be out of play. This way my knight is actually a little closer to the center, and his bishop is retreated anyway. But that's kind of a small nuance. It just gives pretty much an even game, I guess. I take, he takes back, and then I play f6 immediately. b5 is an interesting alternative suggested by the engine, with the idea of stopping the move c4. So I didn't really think about that at all. c4 is pretty typical, but usually it's played earlier, and so I'd sort of discounted that idea. But c4 is a good move now. Kicks this knight away from a good post and forces it over to the side. Okay, and now he goes bishop f4. This move is not working out, actually. He could take on f6. You could play knight c3 and just ignore this for the moment. Bishop f4 doesn't work, and so I can just take this pawn, which I do. And the problem, there's a tactical problem after bishop takes e5. So here's a little tactical quiz for you. See if you can see what the problem is after bishop takes e5. What does black do? Okay, I'm going to give the answer away. The bishop is kind of loose on e5. It's only defended by the knight, and it's already under attack by my knight. So I can remove the defender by just taking that knight off and win two pieces for the rook. The engine is suggesting the most accurate way to play it is to first trade queens. Queen takes d1, rook takes d1, and then rook takes f3. But still the idea is the same. You get two pieces for the rook, and that's a good thing for black. I didn't spot that during the game. I was not too sharp tactically during this game. I missed a couple of ideas. So I just traded. This is an okay position for black. I don't believe it's really any better for black. I mean, white has a dominating knight here, and I have this pawn which is in the way of my development. He has some development issues too. He has this pawn in the way of his development, and his knight is not yet developed. So probably about even. Bishop f6. Trying to chase the knight away, he defends with f4, and I go c5. I wanted to block this pawn and keep his bishop out of the game. He goes knight c3, developing a piece, and I go knight d7, and he goes queen e2. And after queen e2, I have another tactic, which wins a pawn. So why don't you see if you can spot that one? After queen e2, what should black play? Okay, I'm going to give the answer away now. He played queen e2, and once again I missed this idea, but I could take the knight off, and after he takes back, I don't take or move the bishop right away. I throw in this intermediate move, queen to d4 check, and he can block it, or he can move the king. Probably moving the king is safest, and then I can grab the pawn here with my queen and stay a pawn up. So that would be interesting. That would have been another way to get the advantage in this game. Notice actually that I can't take with the bishop because, well, he can trade rooks and then bring his rook over to d1 to harass my queen. And my queen can't go anywhere to defend the bishop, so I actually loses a piece if I take with the bishop. So it's very important to take with the queen. But if I had done that, I would have been a piece up. Okay, so instead I played a6, trying to keep his knight out of the b5 square. But his knight has a really good square on e4, and I think White's position is starting to look pretty good along here. I trade off this knight, and that was a mistake because it gives him, I didn't spot this idea, but it gives him this d6 square for his knight, and quite a dominating position. I play b6. He trades rooks first. And oh, I didn't take with the queen, cancel it. I took with the knight. And then his knight hops into d6. And this is pretty annoying. Yeah, up until this point I thought I was doing fine because I had managed to keep his bishop out of the game. But if you pause and look at this, at the moment my bishop is out of the game too. And all my pieces are on the back rank. And this knight is looking pretty good here. So the tables have really turned in this game. At this point, okay, I go knight g6. He gets his bishop, reroutes it back to where it can come in. I should probably play bishop d7 right here. Get my bishop off the back rank immediately. Anyway, I went with queen g5, and now he has some good moves here. He takes, which is the right way to play. But he missed the follow-up. There's a really killer move here in queen to f3, hitting my rook in the corner. Maybe not so easy to spot, but if you look around for where the loose pieces are, you might notice this loose piece in the corner, and you might notice that queen f3 hits it. And then after that, go ahead and put this on the board, you might notice that things are kind of awkward over here. You've already got pressure on the bishop. The rook goes here to hold on to things. The queen can invade with queen to c6, and there's actually no way to save the bishop. It's under attack. My queen can't come back to defend it, and it can't move to any square without getting taken. So I'm just losing a piece there, all because of my my lack of space and lack of development. So pretty interesting. So that's why, if we back up, I was saying in this point, instead of queen g5, I needed to play bishop d7 right there. After queen g5, we go down this path, and now he has this queen f3 resource. Fortunately for me, he didn't spot it. He played rook f1, a natural developing move, just not the best, and gives me a chance to get my bishop off the back rank. Now he lines up over here. I move the rook. He plays h4. I play h5 to stop it. And now he comes in with the queen trade. Maybe not the move I would play here, although the engine thinks it's okay. But the thing is, you're going into an endgame where I have some drawing chances, whereas with the queens on, he can continue to try and maybe advance pawns on the queen side, create some new weaknesses. He just has the better position. I have a bad bishop, and so I think he should probably try and build up more of an advantage before going for the endgame. But technically, this is still a good endgame for White. I guess my king is kind of out of play, and my bishop is still awkward. But I can kind of unwind. I start with rook d8. He goes king f2, which is a mistake. Right here, I have a chance to really just throw it into a completely drawn endgame, or much more drawish endgame with just the bishop against the knight because of the pin. I was afraid of moving my rook away for fear of losing my bishop, but rook f8 pins his rook against the king and forces an exchange. So that's the way to do it. Instead, I played b5, and he went rook f4, defending his pawns, and I went bishop c6. So I'm getting some activity here. Finally unwinding. He goes king g3, and you can see now it really, the engine is agreeing. It's in drawish kind of territory. I went rook f8, and he went for the trade. And I really should be able to hold this endgame, but I don't. I make some mistakes. Let's see, he comes forward with the king. And right here, yeah, because he left the g-pawn behind, I thought I should grab it while I have the chance. But when I do that, I'm leaving my pawns undefended over here, and I actually give up 2 pawns to win 1 pawn. So b4 would be a way to just stay in an even endgame. This move loses, actually. He takes, I take back, and now he's got 2 pawns against 1 over here, and he's got a passed pawn, which is very dangerous. So I'm in big trouble already. All of a sudden, let's see, I went king f7. I probably should have immediately started heading over for the queen side. I didn't spot that idea right away. He went king g5. I'm going to use my bishop to hold on to these pawns, which are on the light squares. He starts pushing, and now I realize I need to get over to stop that pawn. So I get my king headed in that direction. But I could have saved a tempo on the game continuation, gotten over there 1 move sooner. He's going to round up my g-pawn, but I have to give it up to stop the a-pawn from queening. And then I still have some drawing ideas here. The idea I have at the moment is to use my bishop to hold on to these light squared pawns and use my king to round up these pawns over here on the queen side. So he goes king f6, attacking the pawn. I defend, and then knight to c3. So he's trying to get his knight to coordinate with his king, I think. I push on with c4. That's to allow my king to come in. It gives me an avenue in to attack these pawns. He goes knight to b5, so he wasted a little bit of time there. I go king c5, knight to d6. Where's d6? Where'd he go? Yeah, he went knight d6. Okay. And still keeping an edge. It might have been a little bit simpler for him to play knight to c7 and just round up this pawn immediately. I think there's no way I can stop him from winning that pawn. But anyway, he went knight d6. And now I go king b4, hitting the a-pawn. He can't defend it, but he can push it forward and displace my king a bit. And now he can grab the c-pawn. So he did get a pawn for his troubles. But now I'm going to round up the b-pawn. And after that, well, let's play on a few moves before I give the whole plan. First, I have to go after this remaining passed pawn here. He goes knight e3, hitting my bishop. And actually, I thought he was threatening to take my bishop. I forgot that knight takes, pawn takes gives me a passed pawn that's ahead of his king. So probably not a good idea. So I should just move my king forward and round up this guy, I think. Anyway, I moved the bishop. He took on e6. And I'm going to win the b-pawn. So king to f6. I take. He's just getting out of the way of this pawn. He starts moving forward. Very logical play. I play king c3. I still have a drawing idea. My idea is to get my king over here to this pawn and use my bishop to stop this pawn. And if I can arrange that, it looks like a tall order because my king is so far away, but I'm going to gain some tempos by attacking his knight. So we'll see that. e7. Bishop c6 is forced to stop that. He goes king f7, so now at least he can win the bishop, but winning the bishop doesn't necessarily win the game. I attack the knight. He goes knight f5, and I attack it again. And this right here, knight g3 check would be a good way for him to seal the win. He can fork my king and my pawn. But I really needed the tempos to get over, so I really didn't have a choice to play this way. And he played this move, which now all of a sudden I have real drawing chances. Now, technically, I played the move king f4. Maybe I should have gone king f5. No, I can't go king f5 because the knight's controlling that. I went king f4. And technically, there is still a way for white to win this, but it's much more difficult now. But the move king e6 here actually wins. The problem is, and the king goes to e6. My king comes over here to attack the pawn. His knight can get in between my bishop and this pawn. So I can round up this pawn, but his knight goes here. And now it's controlling the square, so my bishop can't get in front of the pawn. And after I move my king closer, he puts his knight here on d7. Very nice technique to always look out for in these endgames, just blocking the view of my bishop of the queening square, and my king is too far away, so this is going to queen. My pawn is also too far away. He's going to queen first, and that's how he can still win this game. And there's various other maneuvers I could try. Like at this point, instead of taking, I could play bishop to e8 immediately and try and come out on this side. But it just turns out there's a similar kind of knight maneuver on the other side that stops the bishop at some point. So he can still win this, but it requires this very precise move, king e6. No other move will do here. So anyway, he played e8 queen, and after that, or any other move, it's actually a draw. So I takes back. Now I attack his pawn, and he can defend it for one move, but now I go forward, and he has to give up the knight or the pawn. Either way, it's a draw. He decided to give up the pawn and bring his king forward. Let's see, I just get out of the way. You know, if he lets me, I'm going to queen this pawn. So, but I wasn't going to try too hard. This is just a draw. Let's see. Move the pawn forward, and he takes it. Okay, and then that's drawn. Okay, an interesting game. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Leave any comments you have in the section below, and I will see you again soon. Bye.